What's happening, bros? We have a 50-mile-an-hour electric bike here.
50!
They claim it has 6,000 watts peak power, and they say we can do around 50 miles of range. It's called the NachBike R3, and today we're going to review it. We're going to test the top speed, the acceleration, see if it can ride in the sand, see if it can do the 20% hill climb test, and see whether or not it's worth the money, which it does cost $2,299 in the link below this video. But don't buy this thing yet. We got to review it and see what it's made of. I hate these boxes. Here's what it looks like when you get out of the box. And this is the R3, which is the big brother to the R1. So if you don't need all the power, you can get a cheaper, more low power one. The R3 comes with this giant direct drive, 3,000 watt nominal, 6,000 watt gearless hub motor on the rear. You can see all the numbers and stuff on the other side. These direct drive motors are known for their high speed performance, not necessarily their torque off the line. They're efficient at running high speeds. And here's a look at the spokes. They look fairly thick. The rear is a 19-inch wheel, 1.6 inches wide. Tire is a 70 by 100 19-incher. This is basically what I would call, a Surron style wheel and tire combo. Real deep, knobby tread for off-road riding. The front wheel actually is the exact same tire wheel size. Also a 70 by 119 with the same exact deep knobby tread pattern. Have a look at the spokes. They do look thick, and we do get a through axle. The brand of the tire is Carrystone, kind of like Bridgestone of TEMU. We'll take a look at the suspension in a minute, but first let's check out the battery. Looks like it's got this little bar to protect it. It's got a little switch, and of course it comes off with a key. Yeah. So the battery is a 60 volt battery. It is 60 volt, 25 amp hour, rated for 1,500 watt hours of energy. And you can check the charge of the battery. And I'll show you how much the whole bike weighs in a few, but first, let's just weigh the battery. Clocks in at just under 15 pounds for the battery. And this is pretty interesting. It looks like this is some sort of heat sink down here. So, on the typical e-motos, we see a controller down here. I'm guessing this is a heat sink for the actual controller. From a distance, you might look at this thing and think this is, a controller, an upgraded controller like you see on a Surron. I don't think that's the controller though. It must be in there. Oh my goodness. And the horn kind of looks like it was a bit of an afterthought there, but it's there. And it's got a coil shock on the rear, which we need to connect up. So it's actually, damn it. I was gonna say quite easy to do. It is. Just line that bolt up and don't forget to include the washers in there. I found it kind of helpful to stuff this stuff in there to help line it up. Snug that up. So it is a coil shock. It doesn't say how many pounds per inch the spring rate is, but there is an adjustment up here to change the air pressure in that shock with a shock pump. Also, there is no sort of 4-bar linkage or anything for additional leverage, so it's pretty much 1-to-1 on the leverage. What's going on up front? It's got handlebars. They've got a bit of a rise. It also comes with this little thing to hold your keys. And it's got round rubber grips. On the right side, you have access to a quarter twist throttle. Brakes are DY Island hydraulics. Looks like a pretty basic display. Light, signals, horn. So we gotta get that front wheel on. Okay, manual. Oh, we gotta put our brake on the front wheel, which is a 203 millimeter rotor, and it has a phone stand. Wouldn't it be called a phone holder? And of course, this is an electric bicycle, right? So we have some basic metal pedals. And to charge our 60 volt battery, we have a 60 volt charger. Actually, pretty fast charge rate at 5 amps, 25 amp hour battery pack. Take about 5 hours to charge the battery from empty to full. You put that right there. Put your screws in. So it does have a through axle with closed dropouts, which is the safest way to roll. The through axles are always a little bit harder to put the front wheel on, but whoa, makes it a little bit easier if you have a bike stand or a makeshift bike stand, which doing it this way is a little bit risky. But if you're looking at buying this bike, I'm guessing you got a little bit of risk tolerance. Just tighten that up from this side. And you also have these for a little extra pedals on. So up front we have an inverted hydraulic suspension. It's got these little guards down here, and it is a dual crown fork. The stanchions actually look pretty thick. No adjustments on the left, but on the right we do get a compression adjustment. Nothing on the bottom of the stanchion. No adjustments on the other side either. Headlight mounts right up here. And it's also got this zippable NachBike bag to bring some goodies. Now the fender situation, I don't know what we got going on here. I mean, I guess they work to keep dirt from getting on you. They have a carbon fiber aesthetic. That is not carbon fiber, bro. And this one goes up here somewhere, I guess. And real quick, did want to show you the brake calipers. They are 4-piston DY Island. Get the exact same one on the rear. And it is also a 203 rotor on the rear. Actually a relatively thick rotor. Oh no, let's weigh it before we put the battery on. I'll pick it up in a minute and subtract my weight of 191.6. How bad is this bike gonna suck to pick up? I don't know, but we're about to find out. Picking the whole thing up, which actually isn't too bad. There's no sharp points on it. 194.6 without the battery. So about 103 pounds without the battery, and then at about 15 pounds. So about 118 pounds total on this electric bicycle. That's Surron weight right there. However, it will handle, it's much different than a Surron because it has a direct drive motor on the rear instead of a mid-drive. It'll be much quieter. It'll be much quieter because it doesn't send the power through the chain. Instead, the direct drive motor back there just operates completely independent from the pedaling system, which you can pedal this bike. It's got this double wall chain ring up front, and around back there is a single gear indicating that this is going to be a mostly throttle kind of bike. There's a little tensioner there to help kind of keep the slap, to a minimum. We'll feel it out. Now we'll throw that battery on and let's fire it up. So I guess you just hold the M button. So it looks like we get 5 levels of pedal assist, gives us our battery readout. Trip, oh, we get voltage to the battery. That's always a great one to know. 62 volts, so it's just over half charged. Time, odometer, trip. So I love that we get voltage to the battery. And it has a light switch, which this light is actually pretty bright and turns with handlebars, so that's cool. It's like very focused beam, like a laser beam. Flip that on and off here, and then we get a horn. Woo! That is a motorcycle horn, dude. That is very, very loud. And turn signals, which you don't get any indication up here if they're on or off. Also up front, there are no turn signals, which really isn't unusual. But where you do get the signal is on the rear. You got left, right, turn it off. Grabbing a brake lever, you get a little bit brighter light. The lights are off, but you still grab a brake lever, get a little light. So let's see how it feels. We'll get it out for a rip in a sec. Rear suspension feels tight, front suspension feels soft. So maybe we should adjust the air pressure in that chamber. I don't know what the firmness of the spring is. Here's what I'm looking like on it at 6'5", inseam 34. Definitely not a pedaling bike for a tall dude, but standover height is relatively high. So with inseam 34, that's kind of my standover estimate for you. What the hell is that? The bike looks pretty solid, and then you have. So let's get that thing off for a rip. Oh no, we gotta try this. We gotta be living on the edge just a little bit here. So pedal assist 5. Whoa. All right, ready for it? Ready, go. Oh! It'll spin up to, with no load on the motor, 58.8. And I can feel that wind kicking up on my bike, dude. Let's get this thing outside. All right, dudes, let's check out the NachBike R3 for a rip. But before we get going, let's check the pressure in the shock. See about loosening it up, maybe just a little bit. Interesting. There is no PSI in that thing at all. I guess let's just put it at like 140, which by the way, you cannot use a pump like this. It's gotta be a special shock pump. I don't think the manual says how much PSI to put in that thing. So we'll just run about 140. Let's give it a try. And of course, we're gonna check our official range on this battery pack, which is full charge. It's lit up green. So let's try this thing out. So rolling into the elevator here, pretty bright light up front, as mentioned before. Here's the light on the rear. Brake light lighting up. So let's give her a rip up the 20% grade, see how this direct drive motor does. They say 6,000 watts peak, so we'll throw it on maximum, pedal assist 5, and I weigh 200 pounds. We'll do full throttle, ripping off the line. Yeah, pulling this right on up this, man. It said 17 miles an hour on there. Now it doesn't tell us the wattage output, we just get voltage. So for a direct drive hub motor, that's pretty good torque. Generally, these direct drive hub motors are kind of known more for their speed and performance once you get them rolling, not so much, torque off the line. So, I mean, for example, if I'm just rolling along at like 10 miles an hour, I could It's not gonna pop the wheel off the ground, but you can feel that power. So this is an electric bicycle, right? Let's just dial it down to 0, see how this thing is to pedal on 0. It's horrible. So there are no gears on it, and if you run out of battery, these pedals are basically for show. So let's throw it on pedal assist 1. Pedal assist 1 just really gives you a fraction of the power. So, I mean, if you're new to riding, let's see if it gives us amps or anything on here, just double check. Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything about your power. There's a little power meter, it just shows, you know, like it gives you bars. So this is full throttle on pedal assist 1. We're just cruising about 15 miles an hour, nice, gentle, smooth. Going around corners, this thing actually doesn't feel too bad at all going around corners. Like it handles decently well. First impressions anyway. Now speaking of handling, typically when you're looking at an electric dirt bike, a lot of times they're mid-drive. Mid-drives are known for performing a little better off-road as compared to a hub drive, because with the hub drives, these direct drive hubs are heavy and it is sprung mass. So you have the wheel, you have the weight in the wheel. So the suspension is dealing with all that weight in the wheel. So, you know, a mid-drive, like a traditional electric dirt bike, handles a little bit better and you get more torque that way, but they do make more noise. The direct drives are super quiet. We'll throw this thing on pedal assist 2, hit it off the line. As you can hear, no noise at all from that direct drive hub motor, and we get up to a healthy 25 and it kind of cuts us off. Shows us the power right there. Now these DY Island brakes, generally, I am not too impressed with DY Island brakes. Not to say that these are particularly impressive, but they don't feel like complete garbage like some of the DY Island brakes I have tried. These are 4 pistons on relatively large rotors, but just the actual bite and feel of the brakes is not too shabby. We'll put them to a real test stopping from high speed here later in the review. And just to give you a closer look at that power meter, we'll throw it on 3 now, and then just kind of hit off the line. You'll see the power spike up. Doesn't give you a number, but gives you, you know, it shows you a little bit there and brings us up. Well, we're gonna have to let off. So going around the turn, I can kind of feel, you know, a little bit of the weight of that direct drive hub motor on the rear, and cruising on these knobby tires, you know, this is an off-road tire. You know, cruising at slower speeds, you can kind of feel it just rumbling just a little bit, I guess you could say. You know, they're not optimized for street riding. I can hear them biting in to the pavement as I go, but pedal assist 3 tops us out at 24. Now I have not tried pedaling this bike at all. Let's just see. Yeah, you can't really pedal this thing really at all. I mean, maybe you can give yourself a little extra torque at about 10 miles an hour is kind of what this thing is geared to pedal at. 1 gear though, and yeah, that'll be the end of pedaling for today. Just for the record, I am running 32 PSI on the front and rear tire as recommended by the actual tire. And I have to admit, rear suspension does feel a little bit tight. So, you know, I can really kind of feel the bumps and stuff. Now, you know, you could drop the PSI, maybe drop the PSI in the tires as well as drop the PSI in that rear air shock, but there's a coil on there too that appears to be a pretty beefy coil. So it seems as though the suspension is kind of set up to support the weight of a heavier rider. And then the front, you just have that little compression. Front suspension feels fine. It's a hydraulic shock up there. Let's get this thing riding off-road just a bit. Yeah, I could feel the bumps and stuff. Yeah. Rear suspension's a little bit harsh. Front suspension's good, but the tires are gripping in to the off-road terrain just fine. Now, I think I didn't really show the seat too good earlier. Seat actually feels good. Really reminds me very much so of the seat on my Surron. So I'll throw it on pedal assist 4 now. So let's see if we can merge in here on pedal assist 4. Get going. So I think it gives you like full power. Yeah, pretty juicy, man. Pedal assist 4 with a 200-pound rider going into headwind brings us up to 43. Cruising along the Porsche here, no problem. Now we do have turn signals. I'll put on a blinker, why not? So the battery on this 60-volt system isn't necessarily massive, which does have, you know, pros and cons. The pro is the bike does feel relatively nimble. Like for as heavy as this thing is on paper, it actually doesn't really feel that heavy. Now the con is, you know, since the battery isn't huge, we might not get huge range, but we'll see later. So let's give it a 0 to 20 rip here. We're gonna throw it on pedal assist 5, 200-pound rider. Here's my GPS, and you can see the onboard speedometer. Ready, go. So pulls pretty good off the line. 20, yeah. So it's a different kind of torque than you get with a mid-drive motor or a geared hub motor, but yeah, it pulls pretty good. It's not gonna like pop a wheelie necessarily, but yeah, wheel doesn't come off the ground, but 20, 30. The GPS lag just a little bit compared to the onboard. Skirt. So I guess first impressions, I mean, if you want like an electric motorcycle, electric dirt bike, like a Surron, something like that, but you don't want the noise, or you don't want something that has pegs. You know, you want something that's got pedals to at least look like an electric bicycle to some degree while also looking like a Surron. This could certainly be an option for you. All right, bros, we're gonna give this thing a top speed run. I have it on pedal assist 5, full throttle now. Pulls pretty good off the line, all the way up to 30 now, 35. There's a cop back there, 40. 47, the onboard says 47. This thing's pulling freaking good, man. It says, woo, 52 on the onboard and 48 completely upright with a 200-pound rider. 49, yeah, pulling 49. I can probably get aerodynamic. 50, wow. Woo. Yeah, so it tops out 53 according to the onboard and 50 according to my GPS. It was actually a little bit quicker than expected. Pretty sound, man. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of range we end up getting out of this thing, because we are 4 miles into this ride, 15 minutes of riding, and this thing is showing a little bit of voltage sag after that run, but showing just over 60 volts, like 60. The sag is recovering. That's what happens when you do a high load run like that. Looks like it's recovered to about 62 volts after 4 miles into this ride. So the small battery, like I said, pros and cons. We'll see where we end up on range. So I guess at this point in the review, I'd have to say 2 of the downsides of this bike would be relatively harsh rear suspension and a battery that isn't probably quite big enough for me personally, like what I would like to do. Looks like a pretty poppin' day at the beach out here. We might maybe run into some other YouTubers or something. And it is an electric dirt bike. Let's hit a little bit more off-roading. So I feel like real, stable in terms of the tires gripping into the ground. As far as like the bumps and stuff, it's a little bit rough, man. So the tires on this bike are optimized for, more trail riding than sand riding. But let's just pop off here. Oh, wow, yeah. So actually went right up that. I thought the tires might not be wide enough and we might just sink in. That was not the case. But, oh my goodness. Yeah, that rear suspension is feeling just a bit tight. Who are these dudes?
You look exactly like this guy I watch on TV. He does these e-bike review videos around here. What is your name?
What's his channel?
What's like Trail Happy TV, right?
I'm Juice Joyrides. I never even heard of that guy. Tail Heavy TV.
Why do you always got a new bike? How many watts does it put out?
6,000 peak and 3,000 nominal is what they say. I got it up to 50 just now, nice. So the battery's not necessarily huge. So
what's the,
what do you think? Volt? 60 volt. 60? Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Nice. I like the heat sink on the controller in the front. That's great. Good for airflow.
It's got some power for sure.
Yeah.
No. It's got the juice.
It's got some juice.
Beefy.
A little bit of juice. Well, how do you feel about the suspension on the rear?
It feels kind of stiff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
It feels, the center of gravity feels pretty high on this bike.
Did
you notice that?
NachBike? That's how I pronounce it.
Bike, dude. It's the
Nacho bike. There you go. Yeah, give it a try, man.
It doesn't feel heavy. Oh, it's light. That's actually pretty light.
It's 130 with the battery, but I felt like it feels lighter riding than 130.
The suspension is stiff, like for someone heavier.
Yeah, for sure.
This thing sucks. It's pretty solid. How much does it cost? What are they selling it for?
$2,300.
Dude, that's insanely cheap. That's awesome.
I wouldn't say it's insanely cheap, but like
for
it's
what it is. Like you get 50 miles an hour.
What did you say the battery size was?
25 amp hours, 60 volts. So it's like 1,500 watt hours. The motor is 3,000 watts nominal, 6,000 peak. So kind of like analyzing it, like you could just burn through this battery probably in like 20 to 30 minutes of riding. Especially a heavier rider, it's already at 61.1 volts, and I've only...
Direct drives are hungry too.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing 50 miles an hour on Washington, like 6,000 watts. Yeah, like...
Feels smooth, nice easy acceleration, nothing jarring.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like if you want a Surron, but you need pedals, and you want it to be really quiet, here's an option for you. All right, bros, let's give this thing a rip on the sand and see how it'll do. We'll go in with a little bit of speed here, about 13 miles an hour, and do full throttle, no! So it's actually kind of tearing through the sand a lot better than expected. I thought I was just gonna be turning around and going straight back. But 6,000 watts peak is 6,000 watts peak. I'm shocked this thing is actually going through this, but the tires are relatively narrow at, 1.6 inches, I believe. So, but wow, man, this is impressive for a direct drive hub motor being able to ride out here like this, especially on these skinny tires inflated to 32 PSI. I am a little bit nervous that this thing's just gonna wash out on me, but it does have knobby tread tires, and as we get more into the thick sand here, not pedaling at all, obviously, this thing is actually making it way farther than expected, but physics is catching up to us with this direct drive motor, and I don't want to burn anything up, so I'm just gonna let it go right about now. Our voltage sag is down to 54. Just get sand all up in there, why not? What the heck? So that actually did better than expected, but I can feel, yeah, it's just high torque situations like this is not where these direct drive motors shine, and especially not these tires. But all things considered, much better than expected. Man, this thing actually rips. They want me to give a running start. This is sketch. Oh God, I'm scared. Whoa! So direct drive motor it doesn't have the torque, but the tires are actually gripping pretty good. But whoa, yeah. If we entered with more speed, we could have made it up that. But oh look, they're coming up over there. The knobby tread on there, they stick good, but the direct drive motor just doesn't have the torque. And one nice thing about the direct drive motor on this is I feel like I can just cruise around pedestrians in complete silence. You don't gotta worry about people looking at you weird because of, if the Surron motors are so loud. Chain whipping around back there. The thing is just stealthy. You can just kind of cruise and whoa, watch out, birdie. All right, dude, so let's hit the California incline, 12% grade, 85-foot climb, see how it does. And we're sitting at about 59 volts on the battery now, so we'll see where we end up on final range here in a few. All right, so heading into the spiral section here, let's just see how it does here. So full throttle, yeah, full throttle is just too much. It can climb this very easily, and despite the knobby tread tire, we're going around that corner, man. This thing's zippy. So I'm just gonna throw the back tire against the wall here, hop on here, and ready, go. So front wheel doesn't come off the ground or anything, but we are moving already. 31, 33, cooking along. It says 37 on the onboard, 38, which does read a bit high. GPS is showing 38, so this thing's a bit juicy, man, especially once you get moving. So let's try these brakes on the California decline, so to speak. I don't want to go too fast going down here because we have a brick wall at the end, but we are on 4-piston hydraulic brakes, DY Island brand, 203mm rotors. Typically, as I was saying earlier, DY Island isn't really my favorite brakes, but I will say these DY Island brakes feel significantly better than what I've tried on other DY Island brakes. And they actually sound pretty good, man. Yeah, these are DY Island brakes. Is that even how you say it? DY? I just always say that. Typically, they're like garbage, but feel these. I don't know if you noticed, oh
yeah, it feels pretty stout.
They feel.
Is it a
4-piston?
Yeah, it's a different caliper.
Yeah, different caliper. It's got bigger rotors. These feel way better than a typical DY Island brake.
DY Island brakes look nice, but I'm always like, yeah, they're not.
So we're gonna give it a brake test from a couple different speeds here, starting with about 20. We do have the front brake on the left, and just it's got plenty of stopping power from 20, but this thing can go a lot faster than 20. So let's see how it stops from about 30, which is considerably quicker. Oh yeah, still pretty good. That bike's good. And with nobody around, we'll crank it up a bit more here to about, it's 40 and, oh yeah. So these brakes actually do feel pretty good regardless of speed. All right, bros, we're about to head on home, check the final range. I'll share my final thoughts along the way. So at a list price of basically $2,300, I mean, not too bad at all, really, considering what you're getting if you're looking for a high power electric bike. Now range, We are sitting at 57.4 volts. So, you know, if you're looking for something that's like exceptionally long range, this might not be your #1 option, but since the battery is not like extremely large, you know, you're not gonna have an extreme amount of weight you're gonna be carrying around either. So it kind of keeps the bike a little bit more nimble. So, you know, in my opinion, you know, if you're looking for like a Surron style electric bike, but you need pedals and you want it to be completely silent, this certainly meets those requirements. I do wish the rear suspension was a little bit softer. It's just kind of firm, and kind of like the angle of the seat is like kind of pushing me forward due to that rear suspension not really compressing. The whole thing angles forward just a bit. So, you know, the seat's not like, you know, 10 out of 10 comfortable, but you know, it's not bad being on here. Now, if you're looking for an electric bicycle to pedal and get exercise, you know, this is certainly not the one for you, considering how much this thing weighs and there's only one gear. I did notice that there appears to be like some sort, it's not a torque sensor, but like if you start pedaling when it's on pedal assist 5, it doesn't give you like all the beans. You actually have to like rotate your legs fast. So like it measures how fast you're rotating your legs actually, but certainly don't buy this bike, you know, if you're looking for something that's to get some exercise on. So that's pretty much my final thoughts on this thing. Let's head on home, check the final range. My God, dude, the suspension on this thing, you almost need to wear a mouthpiece. It's so jarring, hitting bumps going this fast. Thing still moves pretty good though, man. Still pulling 40, 44, 40. 45. All right, bros, just rolling back into the neighborhood. Coming up on almost 19 miles, averaging 13.39 miles an hour, and hour 23 minutes ride time today. Sitting at, it says 2 bars, but 55 volts, 55.1 volts on a 60 volt battery. So the juice is depleting. I'm not sure the exact percentage on that. I'll throw it up on the screen here. So that's kind of the trade-off, you know, with the smaller battery pack. I mean, it's not going to be a super long range bike, especially if you're trying to crank out some high speeds. So if you do want to grab one of these bikes, use that link down below the video. Buy through that link. It would help support this channel and also get you the best price. However, if this is not the kind of electric bike you're looking for, you should probably watch this video, bro. Catch you over there.